Hi everyone and welcome back to the fantasyfootballfix.com YouTube channel with me, Tom Campbell. You can find me on Twitter at utterlytc, and this is another Elite 11 team reveal. We've got Mark Mansfield back on the season. As we come to the end of the season, we're going to check out how Mark's doing in double game week 36 and ahead of double game week 37. So without further ado, guys, let's get right into it. Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. I should just say before we welcome Mark back, I just want to say we do have timestamps on the video if you do want to hop around. But guys, this is one of the final few shows of the Elite Team Reveal videos that we've been doing for you this season. And I'm delighted to say that we've got Mark Mansfield back on the channel. As I say, you can see that Mark's having another good season. Mark, welcome back, man. How's it all been going?
Hi Tom, good to talk again. Yeah, going fine.
Good, man.
I'm muddling away, not really moving around, but having a good time.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to some free sunny Saturdays in the upcoming weeks.
Man alive, aren't we all? I think it's coming to the end of the season. So we are recording, guys, on Sunday evening, and the Arsenal Brighton game's just come to an end. And as you're about to see, guys, we've got a very happy Mark, which you'll see when we come to his team. So a bit of a spoiler notification there because of how that game played out. But another crazy weekend of FPL action. But as Mark says, we're sort of approaching near the end of the season, but still plenty of points to play for. Mark, we can see this is kind of a funky time for recording the video. Obviously we're mid double game week 36. I think your overall rank with it, we were saying before the video, is around 32k, so it's a little bit out here. But how's your season been playing out for you? And I haven't talked for a while. How would you assess how the season's gone for you with just a couple of game weeks left?
I think I'm going to finish somewhere between 20 and 30,000, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's I started out really well. And then I wildcarded around week 10, and from there, just things, I didn't get the bounce of the ball, so to speak. In recent weeks, just I've been hit by injuries. I was hit by 3 injuries inside a week just before this one.
I see.
Aki and March,
Okay.
and I'm in firefighting mode. I
Yeah.
think some of the things that happened, I'm pretty happy with how my rank has held up. But the way I look at it is, you know, you play the way you play throughout the season, and you hope to get to this part of the season, and maybe you've been a little bit lucky and you push into the top 10k, and maybe you don't get lucky some season and you fall back a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very, very philosophical stance, Mark, and you can see you can having another good season, really better than good season, I think, for the majority of us, definitely the folks who look on at you elite managers in awe. So all chips have been played now. We're going to check out how double game week 36 has been going for you, Mark. Just before we have a look at how that team's been set up and your plans ahead of double game week 37, and I guess a nod to game week 38 as well. Top 20, top 30k, is that about what you kind of aspire to year on year? What would you say represents a good season for you in the elite manager section there?
Yeah, I'll always hope to end up top 10k,
top 10.
because just the four numbers look so nice.
Yeah, it does.
But as I say, you get, I think good management gets you around 50k,
Yeah.
and then the bounce of the ball gets you elsewhere. Like, I think if you're getting constant injuries, as I have been, you're just happy to stay afloat, really. But yeah, I appreciate, you know, different people have different goals,
Sure.
and you know, I don't turn my nose up at finishing around 30k.
No.
It's solid stuff.
Definitely, man. And look, who knows? It could still kick on, because double game week 36 is still yet to be in the books. We're progressing, and as I alluded to just a few moments ago, there's been a few events which have gone quite well for you. So we've referenced it. Let's take a look at the team that Mark put together for double game week 36 and see how it's been doing so far. Okay, guys, so we are mid double game week 36, as I mentioned, so we haven't actually updated the points, which is a bit mean on Mark, I would say, because you've made some calls and you've got some players here who have been doing you proud, haven't they? So, I mean, my head goes straight away to Tony Martial up front, obviously on the thumbnail for this particular video, Mark. Normally, I start at the defensive side of things and ask the guest to talk through the thinking, but Tony Martial, obviously coming off the back of that Wolves game, you went for it. You've gone for it. It was a bit of a punt. What made you think that it was the time to go for him? And are you happy with him for the run in as well, I guess?
Yeah, some very different questions there. Well, he's been stinking the place out for a little while. But I keep him around because sometimes he comes in
Yeah, like
useful.
a bad
You
smell.
know,
He's been sticking around. Yeah.
yeah, sometimes if you forgot to turn on the dishwasher, you've got this mug you hate to use, but you end up using it
Yeah.
anyway. Um, so Rashford injury, I thought he would get a game, um, because Wakehurst played West Ham, didn't do well,
Yes.
and he seems to be swapping them in and out.
Yeah.
When Rashford got injured, that kind of made it more certain, that he would get a start.
Hmm.
So I think we all knew Rashford was out. You know, people will say
Yeah.
lucky, but I entirely refute that allegation. This was a calculated piece of bench wummery.
Hmm.
Um, so he's coming in for Rashford, who I put in my starting 11, by the way.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
he wasn't good.
Yeah.
I he's in my bus team for next week, but you know, I'll have to think about what happens if Rashford is out. I think if Rashford is out, then seeing how Bruno played yesterday, it'd
It
be
was
tough to go there.
Mark, wasn't it mad? You know, the way that the rhetoric was just a few short days ago ahead of the Brighton Everton game, where no one kind of foresaw what happened in that game, and then Solly March picking up an injury, and then the Rashford injury, like you're saying, and suddenly we're talking about Tony Martial being in a bus team. It's mad how things can
Yeah,
change so fast in FPL, isn't it?
yeah. The thing about having him in next week's team is like, is it worth getting him out?
Yeah,
He'll
double
probably get
game.
a start.
Hmm.
Um, Chelsea and Bournemouth, neither of whom are really on at full tilt right
No,
now.
not at all.
Um, but he could go. He could stay. He could go.
Yeah.
So that's why he was in
Hmm.
there. And then I took a -4
Yeah, we can
because,
see. Talk to us about
yeah,
those transfers then.
well, first of all, I reckoned Rashford was out. Then I thought Grealish is probably not going to start. So I was potentially looking at 10 players
Mm.
if I didn't take a hit. Now, taking the hit to get McAllister was particularly painful, given I sold him last week for Matoma, and then he outscored Matoma. Uh, so I wasn't it's a bitter pill,
No
but
kidding.
it already looks okay because Grealish got one, McAllister got three, so
Hmm.
hopefully I'll at least make the hit back, and I've dealt with an injury for free, and he's a good option for next week, hopefully.
Yeah, I see. And it's been sort of jiggery pokery, hasn't it, with the Brighton midfielders, certainly. We'll come on to them in a moment, Mark, but jumping around a little bit here, I've got to ask you about those Estupinian points right at the death just prior to recording this video. That's got to feel pretty sweet, man.
Yeah, I was watching the game, and he got booked for waving limbs in the general vicinity of some Arsenal players shortly after Martinelli had totaled Matoma, and
Hmm.
that was fine. But so at halftime, I was half thinking maybe he comes off here with 0 points.
Hmm.
Then I was also thinking if he comes back on, maybe he's going to get a red. And then FPL happened, and here
That's a
we are,
lovely
seven.
phrase. That's a lovely phrase. I mean, he lit up that stat sheet, didn't he? When you look through the FPL sort of game stats on fantasyfootballfix.com, the game stats, goodness me, he's all over the place. And bonus
Yeah,
points, goal, clean sheet. It's beautiful. It's a lovely moment when that happens. Good on you, mate. Look, you've got David De Gea in goal as well. Nice to see. I think he's well on the way to the Golden Glove now, I believe, with 16th clean sheet as well. It's not a name
yeah,
I've seen in many of the elite teams' goalkeeper spots there, Mark. How long have you had him in situ then? Has he been doing well for you? Is he a new player? How's he been faring for
I
you?
got him in. I got him in. I need to just check. I think it
Mm,
was maybe 2 or 3 game weeks ago.
okay, quite
Uh,
recent.
it was it was for the double game week actually.
Yeah.
I got him in for a hit for Raya.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's paid off a little bit, but mainly strategically covers Shaw,
Yeah.
um, and allows me to have Trent to double Newcastle and the Brighton defender. So
Yeah.
he's just fine. I think he's one of the few goalkeepers whose start we can rely on right now.
Definitely.
Um,
Yeah.
I think United are going to go to week 38. So there's going to be no messing around.
No, not at all. That top four race has not been clarified, has it, just yet? So you'd expect him to see starts in the last few games of game week 30, double game week 37 and 38 respectively. You talked about Trent as well, Mark as well. Obviously, we don't know how the Leicester game has played out yet, but he looks good in that midfield berth, doesn't he? I mean, in terms of an FPL pick. Craig and I talked about him last week. It's just a more strategic thing. If he's classified as a midfielder into next season, what price do you think would be competitive for him next season if FPL do decide to reclassify him into that Liverpool midfield based on where he's playing?
I'm not sure he changed too much.
No?
He's not a goal scorer. He's a creative. He's going to lose his clean sheet points. So I'd expect for
Similar.
a player of his, yeah, similar for a player of his ilk, I would say 7.5. They might throw him an extra million because of who he is.
Yeah.
But if he was a midfielder, I'm not sure how interested I'd be.
No, it's going to be an interesting topic for the pre-season videos that I'm sure we'll do, because very quickly we'll be turning our attention to that. Not quite yet, but certainly next season we will be starting to deliberate that. I wanted to ask you about the captaincy as well, Mark. So you've gone Alexander Isak there for the double game week with the Leeds and Brighton games respectively. Certainly seems sensible. Did you have any temptation to sort of gamble on the clean sheet defender? I could see the vice captaincy on Shah there. I wondered whether or not that interested you at all.
Yeah, I was tempted to do it, but I'm a coward, so I didn't do it.
Always feels
Yeah, I mean, Shah is an absolute loose cannon.
Yeah.
You just don't know what you're getting from him, and he even had a volley in injury time last night. It was on target from outside the box. This is sharp.
It's a nice comparison. He could spike a 15-pointer at any given time, can't he? And quite easily, just as easy, go the other way. So, yeah, interesting. Obviously, Mo Salah and Haaland. I guess we don't need to talk too much about that. But look, it looks like a really good game week playing out for you already, Mark, with lots more fixtures to come. So, hopefully, you're going to end with a bunch more points in double game week 36 off the back of the 4 points that you took and be set fair for game week 37. So, I want to move on now, Mark, and take a look at how you're thinking about setting up. Obviously, guys, we've got loads and loads of what ifs and maybes and caveats to apply here with double game week 36 not having played out yet. There's European fixtures to uphold as well. But let's see how Mark's thinking he might be shaping up ahead of double game week 37. Okay, so I'm just going to let the viewers' eyes familiarise themselves with what's on screen there, because a lot of people are coming in from the bench and there's a bit of colour as well. So we've talked about Rashford, and I want to start with Marcus Rashford. Mark, it's reading that actually his 20 stats for this year actually have been kind of dropping a little bit in terms of the returns there. You obviously would have watched him more than a lot of folks. Are you still trusting Marcus Rashford for the last couple of games? Let's assume that he's past fit for double game week 37 and Ten Hag gives him that green light. How have you been reading his performance and how he's been fitting into this team with how Ten Hag's been setting things up? I'm pretty interested in that.
Obviously, he's not as good as he appeared to be earlier in the year, and neither is he as bad as his returns would suggest recently. I think the narrative around how United have gone recently has been, implying that they're kind of bottle jobs, but it has coordinated with the loss of Varane and Martinez in the central defence. And I think it's hard to judge a team when they lose to centre backs like that. And well as Shaw and Lindelof have done, they're just not the same quality. And when you lose that at the back to build up through midfield, it's tough. And the team were tired, playing all the time. And I thought Varane yesterday made a big difference in various ways. So I don't really see any reason to sell Rashford if he's fit. He, all it takes is one ball over the top and bang, he's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a double game week as well, right? And like you mentioned, Bournemouth, yes, it's an away match, and Chelsea in a home match. You wouldn't be terrified of either of those fixtures, would you? And United still with a lot to play for, so that makes sense to me. And look at that, Tony Martial with the vice captaincy as well. Oh, I'm smiling here because he's been an enigma over so many seasons, hasn't he? In terms of when he's on the pitch and if you can get him functioning, he's been great for points, but that reliability never quite been there, has it?
Yeah, it's very hard to know what kind of a forward he is as well. I mean, he's all technique and not a lot of work rate or not a lot of running. Just not a modern centre forward in any way. I'm not sure what era he belongs to, but given the point in the season we're at, if Rashford was out, I might Martial and Rashford and getting Bruno and doing something like that. But I'm, at the same time, if Rashford's out, it makes him more appealing. But the story around the Rashford injury is really unclear.
Yeah,
like no detail. Get a problem with his leg. Yeah. Is that straight from the physio's mouth?
You'd be disappointed if you asked for a physio report and that's what came back, wouldn't you? Yeah, you'd ask for a little bit more detail than that. Yeah, Ten Hag is kind of I've observed throughout this season doesn't give too much away, does he? In his press conferences, they tend to be pretty abrupt and doesn't give too many details. But hopefully, we'll get some information ahead of that. Definitely. I'm looking at that benchmark. That's extraordinary. That's that strength on that bench to be. For Newcastle, still competing for the top four, playing a very porous Leicester side. But I'm wondering, clearly, you're going to struggle to shoehorn them in because you've got them all on your bench. But any temptation to find a way of any of those boys to find their way into the starting 11?
Well, I'm hoping for more injuries, to be honest, Tom. It would be excellent if I never saw Aki or Rashford again, and then I could put in my Newcastle players.
Lads. Yeah.
It really makes me tempted to just roll this week. Yeah. And Rashford's out, he's out. I'll bring in Isak. If Aki's out, I'll bring in Trippier, and just to have the luxury going into the last 2 weeks, into the last week, of being able to take. You can take 3 punts for a -4. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. And it's really difficult to make any kind of recommendation as to who you'd leave out without that sort of injury update, Mark, in terms of how well you're set up. I guess the Rashford one would be the obvious one. If he's confirmed that his season's over, for example, then might look to do something there. We're going to have to close this quite quickly or sooner than we normally do because of the mid-game week, and clearly you're so well set up. Mark, those Newcastle players, though... it's a weird one how they've gone as well in terms of they've had this incredible season, comparatively speaking. Do you sort of, if you're in a different position and your advice to managers, if they do have Newcastle players, would you be saying it's attack over defence? I mean, they've just drawn 2-2 with Leeds United. Do you think it's Isak, it's Wilson and the attacking boys rather than any kind of faith in the defence at this stage?
I think once this double is gone, you can max out at 2 in your team, maybe just take an attacker and 1 defender.
Yeah.
I wanted to get Wilson, but I couldn't because I needed the money for the second transfer to get McAllister. Mm-hmm. I mean, like the 2 penalties were just nonsense. Wober for the first one, he's just gone crazy, and for the second one, so you're allowed to give someone a little shove in the back. Mm-hmm. Fine, but then the little touch is a penalty. I mean, the inconsistency is absolutely mind-boggling on a daily basis at this stage.
It's every game week, isn't it? It really is every game week.
Yeah, and congratulations to the Wilson owners, but he was abysmal. Shooting wide, left, right, and centre, and then he gets 1 legitimate and 1 crazy penalty, and there you go.
You're not bitter about it, no, clearly.
I'm not bitter, but I'm not magnanimous either.
Very well put. Well, look, I mean, we had Craig on last season. He was in a pretty last week. He was in a pretty dark place then. I think I can sense there's a sense of happiness for you with the Brighton points, and there's still more to come, I'm sure. And look, you set up beautifully ahead of double game week 37 as well, Mark. I mean, this would probably be the last time that you and I speak this season on this series, so I just wanted to say, thanks so much for giving up your time and coming to share your experiences and share your thoughts throughout the course of the season, and hopefully we can get you on for a wrap up at the end of the season and go again next season. In terms of next season's goal, then Mark, is it going to be you're coming back and it's a top 10k? That's the goal for that one. That's going to remain the objective.
Yeah. I mean, that's the high level objective. My main aim will be Howard, and I think I need to find some way of plugging out of the group think that you see on Twitter and so on.
Yeah.
It's really detrimental. But if I do that and I plug out of kind of the social aspect of SPL, then I'm just a silly little man playing a stupid game in a vacuum, and
Aren't we all? Yeah. I
it's,
mean, that's the
it's hard to
quandary.
plug out, and it's hard to be in there and not be influenced. And I think there's a lot of times this season I wanted to do one thing, and subconsciously fear got me, and
That's
that's
interesting. Well, let's talk to that just
retraining.
quickly. I mean, with this videos shorter than previous ones, Mark. So it's something I've observed over many years being on the Slack community and, like you say, social media on Twitter and other circles that I'm sure we all talk in, and how we do tend to converge on the same teams, whether or not that's consciously or subconsciously. For me, it feels like it does take away a bit of the fun and the creativity of the game. But I'm sitting here with a game with an overall rank that's got another 0 on it compared to yours. So is it worth that trade-off? Possibly not. I mean, are you serious then? Next season, you think that's going to be your focus, to try and stick to your guns and try and stick to your own decisions a little bit more?
Yeah, it happened last season. I think it peaked around the time that everyone went and got two Watford forwards for a double game week and captain
Oh,
Dennis or
yeah,
whoever. And I
yeah,
remember being like, I remember at that point, like that was like an intervention for me. It was like, right, this was clearly wrong. I shouldn't have done that. I need to get back to basics. And I think over the second half of this season, I think of you just get too involved. You listen to too much. You see too much, and you can't help it. And I think the secret to doing well is to do your own thing.
I
Um,
love it.
and
Mhm.
it's like people doing well is it's self reinforcing because you've confidence and you play with confidence and you see guys who are doing well and you go, oh, how did they do that? Why did they do it? It's because they believed it
Yeah,
and they have confidence because their season's going well. And
yeah,
when you're confident and things are going well, they go like that. And when you lack confidence and things are going badly, you start making decisions for the wrong reason and it
you're
goes like
plummet.
that.
Yeah. Okay. Look,
I want to
uh,
avoid.
yeah. All right. Cool. Well, look, we'll bookmark this conversation, Mark, and revisit it next season. I'm sure, to see whether or not you've been able to turn that into a reality, because it sounds great in theory, but I know from experience, having played this game for sort of 12, 13 years, it's hard to do that. So we'll try and keep each other honest next season and see whether or not we can do that. All right, bud. Anything else you want to say ahead of Double Game Week 37?
No, I don't think so. Just go after the points.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed doing these videos this season. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Tom. They're very organic conversations for anybody who is just looking in.
Cool.
So yeah, top stuff.
Yeah.
Great interviewer.
Oh, pleasure, man. And likewise from my side, it's always great to have you on the channel and having a chat on a Sunday evening. So, guys, do get down into the comments below and let us know how you think Mark's Double Game Week 37 team is shaping up, and do, I'm sure, thank him for his contributions over the course of the season as well. And look, we're talking about having fun and staying loyal to yourself, but of course, fantasyfootballfix.com does have a myriad of tools that you can use to help you along the way. So do please head over to fantasyfootballfix.com and subscribe, and do subscribe to the fantasyfootballfix.com YouTube channel as well. And do please also smash a like on the video on your way out. And I will see you all next week for the final one of the Elite Team reveals for this season. Until then, have a very, very good week. Goodbye.